I'll start, Himanshu, and
Okay.
Prince will be, concluding the presentation. That's how we planned it. Okay.
Great.
So yeah, good evening, everyone. Welcome to another knowledge session. My name is Amit Nair. I'm working as a project manager for Nashtec, and I belongs to project management consultancy. So I'm here to present why, when, and how facilitation skills can help agile teams, along with Prince Agrahari. So let's start. Uh, so there are some etiquettes that we need to follow before we start the knowledge. Well, where we are already there 5 minutes prior to the session. Uh, Make sure to submit a constructive feedback for all session as it is very helpful for the part presenter. Please keep your mobile devices in silent mode. Feel free to move out of session in case you need to attend an urgent call. Please avoid unwanted chit chat during the session, and it is highly recommended, if possible, please switch on your web cameras. Okay, so before we get into what is facilitation, how to do the facilitation, why facilitation, let's focus on some facts. Okay, and not facts, the problems. So these are some problems. These are some market research that I would like to highlight here. So, a report by KPMG revealed that 70% of organization has suffered at least one project failure in 1 month, in 1 year, often due to misaligned stakeholder management or stakeholder expectation and poor facilitation of their needs and feedback. Another report cited that another report by Consortium of IT Software Quality, poor communication and facilitation in requirement gathering and team coordination contribute to $2.84 million in poor software quality cost annually. That's one of the huge number. Okay. And another study by HBR, I hope you know about HBR, Harvard Business Review, actually study noted that teams with poor facilitation often struggle with decision making and conflict resolution. So these ineffective meeting can waste as much as $37 billion per year in the US alone. This is the study by HBR conducted last year. So all these facts are due to poor facilitation. So what leads to poor facilitation? That's the question that we need to ask. So there are some key factors that we were able to, collate that we think uh, is leading to poor facilitation. Well, we will get into what exactly is facilitation in our further slides. We will discuss about that. But what exactly leads to poor facilitation that we need to actually keep in mind? So number one, the very first point is inadequate planning and coordination. We fail to establish the clear roles and responsibilities and outcomes that need to be there after that particular meeting. So that is something that we need to first focus on. Poor communication, lack of effective communication challenge among the stakeholders of the project, insufficient risk management, so not properly identifying and mitigating the potential risk, and obviously the stakeholder engagement, like lack of stakeholder engagement. So in during meeting we need to identify, we don't involve the key SMEs that is required there in decision making, and obviously ineffective leadership, the lack of strong leadership to drive the project forward and resolve conflicts. So these all are the factors that we think that we were able to collate that leads to poor facilitation. Now, what exactly is facilitation? See, it's very important to understand. Uh, Facilitation is a skill that every person who is at the leadership position should cultivate. Now, in order to cultivate that skill, what exactly is facilitation, and what are the roles that a facilitator has to, make sure that he should lead, and why and when to use this facilitation skill during meetings or during any event in the project, that need to be understood rather than getting into okay, facilitation, let's use this particular technique to facilitate the meeting. Rather than getting into that particular part, we should first emphasize on what exactly facilitation is. So I would like to discuss today about what exactly is facilitation and why it is very much crucial for agile teams, when to use what facilitation technique, and how to facilitate. And then we can discuss about choosing the right facilitation technique. And then we can have some time on question and answers that you guys had. Uh, so the very first thing is, what is facilitation? So if we go with the dictionary, is the process of making something possible. Okay, facilitation is the process of making something possible or easier. So in business or work context, this can be defined to the act of helping other people to deal with a process or reach an agreement or solution without getting directly involved in the process discussion by yourself. Okay, so you facilitate a ground, you facilitate a forum where people can deal with the problems so that together we can come into a outcome. So in practical term, we can define facilitation as a process, a role, or a skill set. It's about guiding and supporting a group of people or group of engineers in our context, so they're able to collaborate better and reach to the outcome or reach to the solution, reach to the decision faster and more effectively. So that is what facilitation is. Okay, it's not about, okay, I'm facilitating the meeting, now you people discuss. No, it's not about that. It's all about, okay, I'm here, I'm able to bring all of us to a single platform. Let's brainstorm about the problem, and let's find a solution together. So as a facilitator, or as a facilitator, our main role is to uh, you know bring all people together on a single forum, and then help them ideate about the problem. Okay, and help them find a solution in that meeting itself. So what are the techniques we use to get to the solution or get to the outcome that we are going to discuss about in this particular session. So being a facilitator, what are the roles that we need to play? Okay, so there are 8 roles that we need to make sure that a particular facilitator should uh, should play during the sessions, during the meetings, or during any workshop. Okay, so a good facilitator is focused on the topic at hand. Obviously, the interaction process and the participant and the optimal part to reach to that particular objective is something that a facilitator should always need to keep in mind. Okay, the very first role he has to play is he has to be a motivator. Okay, so being as a facilitator, you inspire the group from the beginning to the end, keeping everyone engaged and moving forward. Okay, second role is be a guide. Okay, as a facilitator, you know the steps of the process. The group will follow and lead the participant through each step carefully. So for example, if you're in a sprint planning meeting, and if you're actually running a sprint planning session or workshop, so you need to guide the people with about the process, how we do it, how what exactly sprint planning includes. These are the things that we need to discuss. This is the outcome that we need to reach. We need to lay out a process so that people could understand that process and could follow you. Okay. Third, you will be a questioner. It's very important that every facilitator has to ask right question. Why right question? Because these questions are important, which will help to guide a productive discussion and challenge the group when it is needed. So you ask that right question. For example, if you are running again a sprint planning meeting, you should be asking the right question about, okay, if there is any risk included. Okay, this is the context of this whole project. According to that particular project, is there are we have we gone through with the proper risk assessment or not? So all these kind of questions, ask the right question as a facilitator. So be a questioner. Yeah, be a bridge builder. You create a safe and open environment for sharing ideas, for ideating, and help the group find common ground. So that you need to make sure that people shouldn't be scattering around and deviating apart from the ideas. You need to make sure that you have an open ground, or open forum have been created, so the people can share the ideas. So you need to work on the process or create a process in such a way that people can bring more ideas. So for example, if you're creating a new product, and if you're renovating a new existing product that your company has produced, you have to revise that particular product. You can create a forum where you can created a process. For example, you are going to apply a design thinking workshop there. So you need to make sure that design thinking workshop, you are aware with the design thinking workshop. The people should be well aware about it, and you need to make sure that particular process is in place properly, so that people know about it, people can engage with it, and people can ideate through that particular workshop. So it's very important that we should be a bridge builder. The next is you should be a clairvoyant. Clairvoyant doesn't mean that you should be a psychic or a fortune teller. No, by clairvoyant means you should, as a facilitator, you should be very much attentive to signs of tiredness or strain, because there are times when some of the meetings going to get stretched to 8 hours or 12 hours. So you need to understand, okay, there could be some people in the meeting who can show you the signs of strain or weariness. Okay, so that that ability, okay, yeah, this can happen. Okay, and I need to act accordingly. I need to make the meeting in such a way that these people should actually contribute to the outcome of the meeting. Okay, so I should be making it more interactive. I shouldn't be making it more boring. Okay, so you should be clairvoyant about that. You should be very much attentive to signs of strains or weariness, so that and take steps to prevent any issues regarding that particular process. Peacemaker, yeah. So all the facilitator uh, who are in leadership position or a management position does knows this, that conflict resolution is something that we are excel in. So being a facilitator, you should be a peacemaker. So if any confrontation occurs during the meeting, you step in quickly to restore order and guide the group to a positive solution or to the outcome. Okay, so that they shouldn't be navigating away from the purpose of the meeting. You should be a praiser. So yeah, obviously, take every opportunity as a facilitator to praise participants for their efforts, progress, and results. And the last is taskmaster. You keep the session on track by managing discussion and maintaining a consistent level of detail. So for example, if there is a meeting, you should make sure that you are actually I mean actually counting the, first of all, you're actually aware of the time limit that you have for the meeting. You need to respect each other's time as well. You need to make sure that, and need to make sure that after the meeting you should be detailing everything in the form of MOM, or if there is any other document or collateral that you are making, to make sure that particular outcome is properly jotted in a document, so that everybody can track the progress after the meeting. So be a taskmaster, be on top of what we have discussed, so that you should be leading that discussion. You should be on top of the outcome, and you need to make sure that the responsible person should be completing that outcome as soon as possible. So be that taskmaster. So that is all about what exactly is facilitation and what are the roles that a facilitator have to make sure need to play during the meeting or during any session. Okay. Any questions anybody have? Just raise your hands. Okay, I see no. Okay, let's continue then. Now, it's very important that a facilitator must know before getting into the meeting, he must know what is the purpose uh, of that particular meeting. So how do we know, or, how do we need to make sure that we are aligned as a facilitator with the purpose of that particular session? Okay, so, so in facilitation, there is a balance triangle that we say, which talk about three pointers, and there has to be balance between these three pointers. One is objectives, which is all about what is the aim of our work together, what do we want to achieve. uh, this is where we define our KPIs, targets, and concrete outputs. Okay, what does a successful future of that particular project or of that particular sprint gonna look like for the team, or what outcome does the group desire, or what values we would like to embody on the way, or what values that particular meeting going to add up to a particular product or a particular project. That all need to be outlined under this point objective. So a facilitator must have a clear or clarity of objectives of that particular session before facilitating that session. Next is process. So process is about how we work together. What are our group processes? Who makes what decisions? How do we hold each other accountable? Okay, and how do we learn from both success and failure? An effective facilitator will help group take control of their process and will address uh, elements like collaboration, task management, and obviously problem solving. So we process is where we actually decide how the group going to work. So if you want to solve a problem, we need to set up a process, okay, in order to reach a particular problem. So for example, I have a project now, it's time to do the risk assessment. So I have to set up a process so that people can come into the forum and discuss about what could be the major risk, or what could be the assumptions that we should be taking to execute while executing this project, why that we need to keep in mind. So proper process, we need to identify the risk, maybe a process, we can set up a tool like RAID, okay, where we can just have a technique to identify, okay, these are the high level risks that we think that could happen, okay, that need to be jotted in the RAID. So these techniques have to be already been decided by already have to be decided by a facilitator before the facilitation of the session. So it is very much important. Okay, these processes can be different for different team, for different project. Okay, so it's up to the facilitator to decide. Okay, to in order to capture the important information during the session, we need to set up a process to capture those information. The last point is relationship. So taking care of relationships is about building mutual trust within the group. Okay, who are we working with? Basically our stakeholder. How well do we know one another and communicate? Helping people learn how to participate effectively and with mutual respect. That is a vital element of this, but of the entire facilitation. To have an effective facilitation, that is the vital element, to have a mutual respect. Okay, so these are the 3 points that a facilitator have to keep in mind while facilitating any session. Before going to session, these are the points you should have an answer to, okay, as a facilitator. That's okay, so that's done for the purpose. So once the purpose is clear, uh, what are the skills that a particular facilitator have to cultivate so that he can have a effective facilitated session? So let's discuss about the skills. So as per as per International Association of Facilitation, these are the 6 skills that a particular facilitator have to cultivate. So to effectively navigate different roles, uh, you know us facilitator must possess a skill set or must cultivate a skill set that will not only rooted in our emotional intelligence, okay, but also it have to be there in our project management DNA or a team lead DNA. Okay, so these skills actually demands a deep respect for individual needs and proficient ability to align teams demand with the overall project objective. Okay, so what are these points? The very first thing is you should be good with time management, your preparedness, which means how much you are prepared about that particular session. ठीक है? How much you know about the project, how much you know about your goal. That is very important, and your communication skill, very much good, because how you are opening the session, how you are closing the session, what after the session, all that matters. So all that matters if you are following an effective communication. uh, Obviously, build a positive team culture, and you should be an adaptable. You should have a clear objective that we have discussed in the last slide. Okay, so all these are the six skills that a facilitator need to cultivate. In order to have an effective facilitated session. Uh, Now, often I've been asked that. Uh, when Whenever we arrange a meeting, whenever we arrange a session or a workshop, how do we know that what facilitation technique to be used, or how do we know that does this team requires, or does this problem requires a facilitation or not? So that's a very good point. But after searching a lot, I've been came to this particular graph that has been created by Patricia Kung, who is actually a very good agile consultant, works for Mountain Goat Software for Mike Wen, who is a big name in Scrum. Uh, so they have their own tool uh, to see when to use facilitation. You shouldn't be using unnecessary facilitation. You shouldn't be calling up unnecessary meetings if you think your team can handle it. Okay, so when to use facilitation? So facilitation actually depends on two prime points. One is team effectiveness, another one is contextual complexity. Contextual complexity means that how much if there is a meeting that is happening to discuss a particular incident. For example, you need to prepare an incident report that has happened, which actually impacted the infrastructure of a project. So you need to see, I mean, what is the context? Is that context is very much serious, very much complex? If that is very much complex, then yes, you would need a very strong facilitation. Okay, and if your team is not at all, if team is very much effective, and if your meeting has to be done on priority, because that's a very serious issue. So so we have created a graph here. So on x-axis we have contextual complexity, and on y-axis we have effectiveness. So if the team effectiveness, so what is team effectiveness? So it's a team's ability to collaborate effectively. Okay, this is what we call a managed team, who deliver value and who actually managed everything, and they mostly contain a very senior leadership level of people in it. So if the team effectiveness is high and your contextual complexity is high, you would need a light to medium facilitation here. Okay, because you have a very good people, or maybe SMEs in the team working, who can actually handle the context. So you don't need to prepare for that particular facilitation, although you would be needing to prepare for that facilitation, but you don't have to work on the processes that need to be maybe curated, or need to be developed, need to be created. You don't have to worry about that, because your team is very much effective, who can handle the facilitation, who can handle the problem that is on the table. Okay, if you think your team is not that much effective, if their effectiveness bar is low, and still your contextual complexity is high, you would need a strong facilitation. And if both are low, uh, you don't have a very major incident happened, or if there is any, if the matter is not that much major, so you can have a light facilitation. And no to light facilitation is needed when your team is highly effective and the contextual complexity is no, so you can leave it up to the team who can manage it. So this is a graph that would tell you to when to use the facilitation rather than unnecessary opening up the meetings and creating the facilitation process by just wasting out everybody's time. Okay. uh, that's it from my side. I would be handing over to Prince Agrahari to present the rest of the slides. Over to you, Prince.
Sure. Thank you, Amit. So yeah, you can move forward to the next slide. So yeah, hi everyone. As Amit mentioned, we are right now in the facilitation session. I think he has covered everything, so I'll be taking it here from this slide. So here we are going to discuss like some of the actions that the facilitators might be typically taking, to provide a good facilitations in the sessions, in the meetings, in the webinars, or in the workshops. So before going into any facilitation meetings, we should be preparing ourselves, correct? So the first point is the preparation, whether we are going to take any interviews, whether we are going to have a discussion with the designers, whether so like how we can prepare, correct? Like when we are going to the interview, we are going through the processes, correct? That we are going through their resume, we are preparing ourselves that how we can take the interview, what are the questions we need to ask with them. Whenever we are setting up a meeting, correct, we do have to make sure that we are writing up the agenda of that meeting. We just not going to the blindly and saying that okay, uh, this is the meeting for what we have said. So before, whenever we are scheduling a meeting, we do have to make sure that we are writing the agenda of the meeting in the descriptions. uh, and in doing when we go to the meeting, we have to make sure that we have done all the research from our side, correct? Again, as I mentioned, that we should not be going to any meeting blindly, that okay, this is the meeting somebody has scheduled, we are just going and listening anything and coming back. Because if we are doing that thing, we won't be asking the right questions, we don't be communicating with the other team members those are present in the events or the workshops. So we have to make sure that we are doing the correct research when we are going to any meeting or to provide any facilitations. Uh, we, the communication, we have to make sure that we are communicating properly in the event, in the workshops, even the sprint ceremonies, correct? Like if we are doing the sprint planning, we have to make sure that we are communicating to the team that okay, what's the sprint goal, like how we can achieve that, what are the high priority items that we have to achieve, which can lead to achieve the sprint goal of the team. So that how we have to prepare ourselves before going to any facilitations, events, or ceremonies or workshops. The second point is the leading activities. So we have to make sure that when we are in the meeting, we are doing all our ideation while doing the communication. That each person should be bringing their ideas, should be raising the right questions, should be bringing their no confusions, so that no other people can clear their confusions. We have to make sure that the decision making member in the event or in the ceremonies are present, so that if we have any questions, the decision maker is there and we can ask that what decision he is going or she or he is going to take. We have to make sure that other team members are energetic in the meeting. We don't have just look that okay, it's a boring meeting or it's a boring event. So that's how the facilitator should not do. The facilitator should be making the event no energetic, where everyone can collaborate and make the decisions. Then we should be no moderating. uh, Again, I think Amit already mentioned that in the planning or in any meeting, we have to make sure that we are not getting diverted to the topic. We have agenda, we have to make sure that everyone is discussing about that agenda only. If anyone's getting routed to the another topic, we have to make sure that we have to get them corrected, and we have to let them know that why this facilitation event is here, what are the topics we need to go into discuss. So we have to redirect them to the correct goal. We have to make sure that by the end of the meeting we are summarizing everything, like what are the action items we have, if any action items or any of the team members. So we can call it as a MOM, correct? So by the end of the meeting, we have to make sure that before finishing the facilitation event, we are summarizing all the points. We have to also make sure that we have to keep the track of the time as well. that we should be not getting behind the scheduled time that we have booked onto anybody's calendar. So we have, as a facilitator, we have to also make sure that we are on track, we are on time, and we are not getting exhausted. In on the follow up, we have to also make sure that we are preparing the report as a MOM. We can do that. We are debriefing well, again the summarizing that okay, this is the agenda we have, this is the action items, these people have to do this thing, these people have to do those things. And like we should be also asking that if there is any improvement area where we can improve, correct? So as a facilitator, that's also one part which we should be asking from the team members, that is there any way that how we can improve in the facilitations, in the meetings. So if we are scheduling another follow-up meeting, we should be preparing that okay, these are the improvement area that we have got in the like earlier meeting. Now the next meeting is scheduled, we have to make sure as a facilitator that those areas should get had been improved. uh, so yeah, that's all some of the actions that the facilitators might be typically taking, to be a good facilitator. uh, so Amit, can you move to the next slide please? Thank you. Yeah. So what type of facilitation? So like an effective facilitator can rely on the like 5 core principles, which is listed down here. That is the participatory. So like when we are doing the core to effective facilitations is full participation and the engagement is required, correct? And that's how we share the responsibility and everything. Like if nobody is participating in the team, we won't be able to get the right questions, or like we are just keep on listening. The facilitator is coming, he's providing the agenda, and we are not discovering. So by the end of that event, we won't be having any action items or a concrete result or the proper outcome. uh, the second principle is the healthy. Uh, we have to create a safe environment, like a healthy space where any individual can speak and raise the concerns and the differences. That if somebody is mentioning any point, the other person can raise the questions. Again, it should be not that pointing to anybody individual, but a positive question should be asked that okay, if you are providing this solution, what are the other solution which we have? Like just give an example, that the sprint planning, we have a lot of no high priority tasks. Then as a team we should be discussing that okay, this is the high priority task, this is the high priority task, who other team members can work on that, whether it's the pair programming, how we have to achieve. So if there is a healthy space, all the team members can know queries, can put their thoughts, and no, that can be a helpful meeting rather than just pointing out and saying okay, this is a hypothetical, just go and complete it. The third principle is the transparency. So we have to make sure that we have that transparency. So like if the PO is, again give example of the sprint plan, say PO is saying that this is the high priority, and the scrum master is not pointing or not providing the correct sprint goal to the team member, not keeping any transparency. So that will misleading, and the team member will be not actually aware what the correct sprint goal is. So we have to make sure that we are keeping all the transparency between all the team members. The fourth point is the process, so where we have to make sure that we are following the correct process which would lead us to progress toward the desired objective. And we have to make sure the interaction is the collaborative, where we have to know, make sure that we are leveraging the diverse perspective of each of the team members. The last principle is the purposeful. So like again we have to make sure that we are well facilitated session should have a clear objective, where that everyone is aligned, and with we have to work together to achieve that desired output or the desired goal that no we are trying to achieve. So yeah, these are the 5 core principles that we have to make sure that when we are providing a facilitator, as a facilitator we have to make sure that we have those all those 5 core principles. uh, if I talk about the top facilitation techniques that we have, so starting with the active listening techniques. So again, we are not going to deep dive into all these techniques. We are just going to touch base each of the techniques that we have. So like we have near about like 7 8 techniques, top facilitation techniques with us. The first one is the active listening technique. So it is one of the like most imperative facilitation techniques which any facilitator must be skillful at. You can foster a like conducive and the sympathetic environment by employing the attentive and the empathetic listening. It also makes people speak correct out each other freely. Like we also have to encourage the participant to share their thoughts and the feelings openly. Like we could have like some practical active listening tools to enhance our facilitation. The like if I say that the reflective listening, where though we listen something, but by the end of the day we do validate that what the speaker has said, just to make sure that we have got the point correct. So like, but what actually I do, like whenever I used to go to the client meeting, whenever there's something, by the end of the meeting I try to summarize that part. Okay, this is your expectation, by rephrasing or the paraphrasing whatever they have said, but just make sure that you don't change the overall objective by just paraphrasing whatever the no the other stakeholders have said. So again, you can use the non-verbal communication as well. uh, we have to make sure that somewhere in a meeting the facial expression is also very much required whenever the speakers convey that, to make sure that we have the attention and the engagement without not distracting the speaker. The second technique is the icebreakers and the energizer. So again, it's also a essential facilitation techniques that create a positive and the inclusive atmosphere. It also encourages the participants to interact, build, and bond, and energize their mind, incorporating team building games and the random word generation. So again, how we can use this icebreaker and the generator. So like, if we are playing the icebreaker, we can divide the participants into the teams and have them compete in the quiz or the game forward. Just we have to make sure that the questions whatever we are putting in the quiz are the light-hearted and encourage the laughter and the fun. So many PMs I know that they used to schedule the fun Fridays or anything, just to make sure that they are having a good bond between the team, and making sure that we are following as a good facilitator. The another one is the visual facilitation, and again, it's a powerful tool, correct, that facilitate the better understanding and the retention of the information amongst the participants. As a facilitator, no, we have to make sure that we are incorporating the visual aids into our sessions, can elevate the learning experience and can encourage the active engagement. Like we do have some online tools that we can use, whether it's the flip charts and the makers. So whenever we are going into a meetings or the events, we can use the visualization technique, that we can have a whiteboard, we can have a like Canva or like any Figma, anything where we can create all the sessions or the diagrams and the mind maps or the charts, and the based on the participant we can take their input, making the complex concepts more accessible, and we can visualize the thing. We can even use the sticky notes or the notepad, correct, that's also a good tool that we can use for doing the interactive brainstorming, and where we can collaborate the idea of the organizations. We can also use the, as I mentioned, we can also use the Canva, correct, that to just enhance your facilitation uh, in the team. If I talk about the next one, so the next one is the World Cafe method. It is also the one of the engaging facilitation techniques, like to design to promote the meaningful and the collaborative conversations among the participants. It also creates a relaxed and the informal atmosphere. So it's a simple, the name suggests that it's a cafe method, correct? So like, we can keep a set of chair, we can have all the stakeholders on sit of that. It can be any type, it can be round size of chairs which we can keep, or we can say the like XYZ. But we do have to know each table should have enough space for the participant to interact and share the ideas. We have to also make sure that all the tables should have either some markers, the papers, water bottles, the tablecloths, and it should be feeling that okay, like we are sitting in a cafe, correct, where that we can use the word cafe method. We have to also encourage the participant to switch the tables at the specific interval, so that only one person not sitting on a table and just communicating with the beside the person sitting, that we can rotate the person or the participants as well, so just they can all collaborate each other. We have to also allow the participants to build on a previous conversation and help them gain the fresh perspective. So like, this is how we can use the World Cafe method uh, facilitation technique. If I talk about the next technique, that is the role playing and the simulations. So the role playing and the simulation are the immersive facilitation techniques that allow the participant to explore the real life scenarios and the challenges in a controlled environment. Again, it's a scenario based activities, correct, like where we can design the realistic scenarios relevant to the sessions theme or the learning objectives. We have to just ensure that the scenarios are the challenging yet achievable. We have to provide the participant with the opportunities to apply their knowledge and the problem solving activities. If I talk about the SWOT analysis, so it's the SWOT full form is the strength, weakness, opportunity, and the threat. So it's also a good facilitation tool that we can use to understand the organizations or the team's strengths and the weakness. We have to just guide the participant through a SWOT analysis session to gain the deeper insights into the subject matter. We just have to know, let them create a table or create on a paper. We just have to create a table and mentioning that, okay, four quadrant, which is the strength, weakness, objectives, opportunity, and the threat. And we have to ask to the participant that, okay, please let us know that what is our strength, like where we are lying, what's our weakness within each section, and the participants can encourage to list the relevant factors into the correct quadrant. Moreover, like we can use the whiteboard or the flip chart to draw the four SWOT quadrants, can improve the like visual aspect of the analysis. If I talk about the like the open space technology, so it's also a dynamic and the like participant driven facilitation approach. It encourages the individuals to take the ownership of the meeting agenda and engage in discussion based on their like interest and the expertise. It also facilitates a smooth flow of the discussion and prevents scheduling the conflicts. It is achieved by like creating a time and the space grid on the larger paper or a digital platform where should be displaying the available time slots and the designated rooms or the space for each topic discussion, and we can know have all the team members or all the participants there, and we can have a proper and a healthy discussion between all of them. If I talk about the like the mindfulness and the reflection technique, so it is also one of the strong facilitation techniques that we can use for the self-awareness, and it also promotes a deeper understandings of the sessions conduct. Like we can just begin by the introducing the concept of the mindfulness to the participant, and we can explain that how the mindfulness involves being fully present in the moment. We have to just lead the participant through the short. We have to just make them guided to the meditation session at the beginning and the end of the facilitation. So that's how like we can use the like mindfulness and the reflection techniques. If I talk about the appreciation circle, so again it is one of the like important facilitation technique as well, that we should be appreciation putting the appreciation for the fellow colleagues to create the positive and the uplifting atmosphere within a group. We have to express the gratitude and the appreciations towards our participants. We can providing is the participant with the appreciation card or a small piece of paper, correct. We just have to instruct them to write the output messages of appreciation for specific individuals who contributes or for their contributions during the sessions, correct. A good example like the Thanks Thursday, correct. In our organization that we use this Thanks Thursday to appreciate or to praise other fellow colleagues, whether it's our manager, whether it's our colleague, or anybody who's working or helping to just succeed into our goal. So this is also one of the facilitation techniques, that whenever we are in the meeting, we should be praising to the other team members. Uh, and again, it should not be anonymous, getting the anonymous that we don't get that who is actually praising us. So it's better that we are using a great platform or great place where we can make sure that this is the person who's praising us. So it should not be anonymous where we are praising anonymously to anybody. So yeah, these are the like the top facilitation techniques that we can use. So Amit, can we just move to the next slide?
Yeah, and one point to add in the top facilitation techniques. So these facilitation techniques are actually needed to be used after having a full, you know, consciousness that okay, these techniques can be used to serve or to solve a particular problem in the meeting. So these need to be first gone through by a facilitator, and these are the only top techniques. There are tons of techniques available. You can go to a very famous site, International Association of Facilitators. They have tons of techniques available, but all those techniques are serves a purpose. Okay, maybe a combination of techniques can be used to serve a purpose. So we cannot go one by one due to the time is a constraint part. So that's the reason we have highlighted top facilitation techniques. Some of the techniques you have been going through already in your projects. Okay, for example, SWOT is so famously being used to understand the organizational, maturity and team's maturity. Okay, so these techniques are just to be just highlighted here. We have highlighted here. For reference, but there are many, and it is very much important if you are in a leadership position or a management position and you are running a meeting, you should at least know these techniques. Okay, now just to conclude our session here, I would like to quote quote by a famous author, John Naisbitt, who actually said, "The new leader is a facilitator, not an order giver." So, if you are in a leadership position, if you are a project manager or at any leadership position, okay, you should first be a facilitator. Okay, you shouldn't be an order giver. Okay, but because team wants a facilitator who actually solves a problem for them, or who will navigate them to solve the problem properly. Okay, so it's a famous quote that I thought to include while concluding this session. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. If you have any questions, please, this is the time to ask. Nobody has any questions. That's good.
No, just to add, I mean, like again, the all the facilitation technique that we have listed is not necessary, correct? That all the facilitation techniques can be used at every places, but before using like any techniques, correct, you have to make sure that you are choosing the right technique at right place. So just go study about the technique and then try to use that. Just don't say that okay, all the techniques that we have listed here can be applicable at any place, and like we can just pick anyone and go randomly and using that. No, so you have to make sure that before using any technique, you have to make sure that how you are going to facilitate, whether that technique is going to help you during that meeting or not. So just don't go blindly and say that okay, like Amit and Prince, I mentioned all these techniques, so it's only that technique that we have to use. Before using that, just study about it, a little bit about those techniques, and then only use into your events or the workshop or ceremonies.
Yeah. Any questions? Okay, I guess no. So what are you, Himanshu?
Thank you, Amit. And thank you, friends. I guess we are good to wrap up from here. Else, guys, this is the last call. If you guys are having any queries, you can. I guess this is the right time to get them answered by Amit and friends. So, if not, then you can surely reach out to them later on Teams with your queries. Okay, and lastly, I'll just mention that please take it into consideration that we'll be putting out the feedback forms for all the topic sessions. So for this particular session, you are required to share your feedbacks, and it will help us to convey same to presenters who are taking care of these sessions. Thank you, everyone, and I hope you guys have a great evening.